Mahou Tsukai is a magic mod that allows you to use magic through blood circles. So if you make a blood circle on the ground like this, you can use magic by putting powder in it. And there's three different ways of magic. So there's the magic which you use a magic circle, or you turn that magic circle into a scroll. So this is a summon scroll, for example. Or last thing, which is the most strongest spell, if you turn that magic spell into a magical item. So for instance, this is the magical item, and basically if I channel this magic spell for a long time until I see this ray, it will do this huge explosion. To get into Mahou Tsukai, you will need to make your magic book. To make that magic book, you will need some red rose, leather, and some paper. Now you have your book. So if you right click that book, it will show you things about the mod. So the first thing is how to get into the mod, how to start doing it, to form your magic spell, your first spell, some materials you will find, spells and how strong it is, and the last thing is how to make the spells and the recipes for each spell. Now the first thing that they tell you in the book is to how to perform your first magic spell. So to do that, you will need to draw a blood circle. Using that, to make that blood circle, you will need to take damage first. So simply, you can just go take damage, or you can make this dagger. So this dagger, you will need 2 gold, 2 iron, 2 purple dye, and 1 stick. Now that you've made your dagger, you can simply right click yourself and you will take damage. You see in the top right. Since I'm creative, I won't take damage. You press M and that will perform your blood circle. So that's what the keybind usually is. You can change it if you want. Now when you perform and make your first magical circle, which is the blood circle, you will see your magic, or basically your mana on the top left of your screen. Now that you see your mana, you will start with 100. The more you perform magic, essentially using mana, you will increase your mana capacity. So just use more mana, you get more mana capacity, because of some spells will at the starting spells will use like 10 mana, 20 mana, but some other spells will need 4000 mana. You will need a lot of mana, so you will need to increase mana capacity. And you see at the top left, also going to sleep helps you a lot and makes you stronger basically. Now you performed your blood circle. You can use magic, but we won't get into that for now. We'll first get into mana banks. So you can make a mana bank, which basically you're making a tuner. You will need 4 gold, 4 lapis, and that will make you a tuner. Combining this tuner with an emerald or a diamond will make you your full bank. So basically an emerald one will hold 5000 mana, and you simply right click it, it will take your mana, put it in the bank. Now the diamond one will hold up to 10,000. Same idea, right clicking, it will take mana, hold it in. Since I'm creative, it won't take anything. You hold that, you can put this tuner in your offhand or in hand and use the spell with the other hand. It will take mana from that tuner. Okay. Now to perform magic, you will need to change materials into a powder into powder. So to do that, you will need a hammer to crush those. To make it, you will need 2 sticks, 2 cobblestone, 1 string. Now that you made your hammer, you can crush. But also there's a better version of the hammer which you will need to make it, but it's 2 pieces. So the first piece is the motor piece, which will need 2 bricks and 1 diamond. The second piece is the pestle, and you will need 2 sticks, 3 diamond. You can combine them with each other and you get that. Now you can make powder, but it's even better version. So there are 6 elements, 6 materials you can break for now startup, and then there are other things that you can make, but that's will be using magic. So you have diamond, which will transfer into powder diamond. Everything will be that powder of that same material. So you have diamond, interpearl, gold, iron, you have emeralds, and last thing iron. Now here's all of it. So the way that it works is that you need your item here and take any material, go to any crafting table, put that material, put the hammer next to it. Doesn't matter where you put it, see, as long as you put it in the same crafting table, it will make it into the powder. So the hammer will only give you 1 here, but the other one will give you 2. So it's a more expensive item to make, and you also have to go to the nether to make it, stuff like that, but it's a better version. It gives you more mana. Last thing before we get into the magic, you will need something called the spell cloth. To make that, you will need some wool, some dagger, and that will give you your spell cloth. You get 4 of each. It's for each craft. Now we can talk about the magic. So there are two ways of making magic. There's the first way where you just put simply the magic circle, you fill it with the powder. I'm not gonna fill it completely so I don't use magic now. I'll show you the magic later, but so I don't ruin this plate. You put 3 dust. So the way that magic works in this mod, you have your essential items. So the way it works is that each element or each material will be has its own category, right? So you have iron will be boundaries, for example. You have ender displacement. So the way it works, to use iron or boundaries spells, you will need to have the main one is iron, so you will need to have 2 iron, and then you can put any combination. So let me show you, for example, here you see that if you look here, the 2 main ones are the iron, and then the last one, the last circle, is the different ones, the ender, that will make it. Here when you do that, you will have an option. There's something called close spell, which I told you about. It's either sometimes it's optional, sometimes you have to use it. So the way it works is that if I put the spell like this and put the last dust, it doesn't matter any kind, since I put the 2 main ones, it will work just by simply right clicking. If I put the cloth and just dig and deal damage to myself, put the spell, right click it again. Oh, okay, so this spell is not optional. I need a different material that would be optional. Let me get diamond. Yeah, here. That let me get close. Yep. Okay, so if I do that now and right click, I have a spell. If I simply right click the spell, it will work. It will send you a different dimension, so I'm not gonna use it for now. And so that's basically how to do it. So you have the 2 main, you put 2 main powder, and then you put all the combination you have all of these lovely powders. So you have so many different combinations to try. All of them are said in the book, and you can just simply read whatever each one does, and everyone. So now what we're gonna do is that we're gonna go try every spell with its own category. So we're gonna try divide them all into their main category and try all the spells. First spell from the boundary is the alarm boundary. So I'm gonna use all of the spells using the scrolls, so it will be faster. And some of them I will have to make the circles for them. But anyway, so the alarm boundary, by right clicking the spell, it will make this circle. So what the circle does is it will tell me if there is any mobs that entered the circle. It has a 10 blocks radius, and it will tell me if any mob joined or entered that radius. So it's basically a simple way to know if mobs are in your territory. Next spell is Displacement boundary. So you right click it and it will make the same circle. So what this one does, it will attempt to move or anything that goes inside that circle. So if I just put something here, it will kick it outside. So basically mobs cannot enter this circle. So if you could put this circle all around your house, mobs cannot enter your house. See, he's trying to go inside but he can't. Enclosure boundary is a spell which will raise the floor around you in 10 feet, and it will use 1 mana to do that. Now tangible barrier is another boundary spell. So what it does, it creates an invisible barrier that I can go through but mobs can't go through. So you see, this is the invisible barrier. If I put a mob here, I try to push it, it won't go inside, but I can just simply go through that invisible barrier, and mobs cannot go inside or outside or go through that invisible barrier. Next spell is the gravity boundary, and what it does, it increases the gravity of mobs within 10 yards. So if I put a mob here, if I try to attack it, you will see it doesn't move that much because it has a gravity on it. So mobs cannot move that, jump that fast or anything. It can't fly in that air. It's basically gravity. Last spell of the boundary spells is Drain Life. What Drain Life does, it drains life from any mobs around it, taking mana from me, but killing any mob or dealing any damage to any mob in that radius will heal the caster and give him mana on the amount of damage that the Drain Life is doing. Now for the Displacement spell. The first one is Protective Displacement. And what Protective Displacement does is that if you use the spell, it's not a circle, you have to use it, and anything that throws arrows at you, it will have the effect as an enderman. So it will keep teleporting items. So I used one spell now. He teleported away once. Let him attack me. He gets teleported away again. Him and arrow, so I don't even take damage. Next spell is projectile displacement. What it does, it teleports you to the last arrow you threw. So if I throw my arrow like this, use it, I went to that arrow. So I'll do it again. One more. And I right click and whoop, I teleported to that arrow that I threw. Next spell is order displacement, and this one you cannot use it as a scroll, it has to be a circle. So what it does, it teleports you between this first circle you created to the second circle. So if I just stand on this circle, you will see I'm keep teleporting between both of them. So I teleport, I step away if I want, I go teleport, step away. If I want to teleport back and forth, I can do that. Every time I teleport, it uses mana. Next spell is equivalence displacement, and this one is a bit tweak. So it has the same idea as the other one, but it's a bit different. So you draw the two circles and you can teleport between them. But this one can work from any place in the world, even between two dimensions. But it has one thing. To teleport items, you have to have an exchange. So there has to be something that gets teleported, either an entity, an item, or something. So I have to drop things. So if I drop here, for example, some items, and I go to the other circle, doesn't matter where the other circle, I will be teleported. I'll be teleported to this side, and the item I threw will be teleported to the other side, you see? So it's really good, but it's a tricky one because you have to teleport items, people, players, and the two chunks have to be loaded for this spell to work. Last spell is the mental displacement. So by right clicking this spell, you will leave your body like this, and you're basically in a spectator mode. You have a specific radius you can go outside, but in that radius you can do whatever you want. You can go through walls. If you want to go back but without even leaving that radius, you can simply left click and you're gonna go back to your main body. So we're gonna talk now about projection spells. So proximity projection, using that spell will summon this weapon. What that weapon does is if you attack any mob, it will simply teleport that mob to you and deal damage to it. So like that. Next spell is weapon projection. What it does, it summons a bow which you can throw with that bow item. So I'm throwing now an axe. I'm throwing an axe, for example. If I put the sword at the beginning and put something here, I will be throwing the sword. And it deals a lot more damage because I'm throwing the sword. You can see the sword is here on the ground, and you can pick it up because when you throw it, you're gonna throw it in survival, so it will actually physically take that weapon from you and throw it on the ground. Then you can go simply and pick these weapons up. And I'm creative, so I'm just having duplicates. Next spell is treasury gauntlet. And the treasury projectile gauntlet. And what you summon this treasury projectile, summoning the gauntlet will cost you 1000 mana first of all, and then right clicking it will start summoning the circles which will keep dropping weapons. But these weapons were gonna be used from your treasury or a bag that you linked it to, and dropping each weapon will cost you 120 mana. Next spell is reality marble, and the way this spell works is that if I right click it, it will teleport me to a different dimension. So if I aim at someone and teleport with this spell, we both teleport. And this has a relation with how we're gonna leave. So if I'm teleporting right now, I'll go teleport to this different dimension where it's filled with swords like these, and I can just go loot any sword I want. So I can loot as many swords I want. So some of them go with some of them are enchanted, some are not. There is like diamond, you see, and this world is infinite. Now to leave this dimension, there's two ways. If you teleport with another person or another thing, so you aimed at a cow or something, killing that thing will let the other one leave. If you teleport it alone, all you have to do is simply take damage and you go back to your normal dimension. For the next spell is gonna be the power concierge, which will make you a sword. So this one you have to make the sword. So you will need 2 diamonds and the emerald. Now that you have made this one, it will start making this lake. Now that it made this lake like this, you will see if I throw an enchanted sword in it, it will make me a new sword, which is the Excalibur, the Calibran. Now I can just simply leave that area. You see, this is just some like holy water or something. Now this sword is gonna be as strong as the sword that I throw, and use that enchanted to be a stronger sword, plus it's gonna be a lot stronger than a normal sword. So if I go here to the calibrant, now this holy sword is gonna be stronger, and it's gonna be stronger against the undead monster, and monsters will fear the sword. So let's just try to summon a zombie here. Spawn a zombie. So if I go to game mode survival and I summon the zombie, he's running away. Look at that. He's running away. He's running away. That's the first time I see a zombie runs away. So they fear the sword because it's a holy sword. Next category is the mystic, and that's the goal. So first spell is shared bane, and that's basically if you put the spell on anything, it will share bane like you. If I put it on a zombie or something like that, me and the zombie will share bane. If I take damage, he will take damage. So let me go to like survival. See, he's taking damage, I'm taking damage. Next spell is raw AS, and basically that puts a shield in front of the caster. So this shield will make mobs not come close to me. It also will bounce projectiles, and I can bounce on it by simply sneaking on that spell. So if I go from the spell's back and I just sneak, it will bounce me to the in front of it. Next spell is the Staff of Explosive Mana. So basically by simply right clicking it, it will summon that explosive one. So this explosive one works in two ways. So the first way, if I simply right click it, it will make the wither like this, and the more I charge it and I see this beam going, the more it will explode. So if I fully charge it here, so you see, if I cancel it early, it wouldn't explode, and it takes so much mana. Now if I simply left click, it will explode. So that's the first way. If you sneak and right click, now you change it to an AoE mode. So now let's try the AoE mode. So if I just simply right click it and hold, shoot, it will shoot these beams that will explode. So there's like two different ways if you can do this. The first way is the big explosive, or the second one is the AoE explosive. And if you want to go back, you can go back to the beam. This is, and if you shift click right click again, there's another beam, and just basically it's like basically a beam. I'll do it one more time. Next spell is the Staff of Disintegration. And what the staff does is you can right click on mobs or entities and just shoot them away. Also, if I put a block here, for example, next to that block, I can use that block to basically throw things from that block or away that block. So basically anything that's next to that block will be thrown away. Next spell is Borrowed Authority, and this spell basically by channeling this spell you ask the power of the gods and it makes you stronger. So if I simply leave it, now I have so much speed, and if I hit mobs, for example, look at this, it will bear through the walls and it will just destroy it. That's just with my own fist. If I hit with anything, it will do the same thing, and I'm so fast, I am a lot stronger. Next category is Mystic Eyes, and the first spell is Mystic Bind. So basically what you do is if you use the spell on a mob, by looking at this mob you make them bind to this place. So just hitting them or anything, they won't be able to move, they can't move. If you break the eyesight, they will move again. So basically everything that I've done to them, or I can break it by not looking at them. You can do that to a mob or an entity or a player. So the next spell I'm gonna use is Mystic Eye of Cleverness. And what it does spell does, when you use a spell you get 1 minute of cleverness. Basically you can tell where a mob can go. So if for example if I hit that cow, I can tell where this mob is gonna go. So I see this red line or where that mob is gonna go. That works for every mob until a mob is too clever or something. Maybe as a skeleton, skeletons or something like that. I can't read those, but other mobs I can read them simply. Next spell is Mystic Eye of Black Flame. What Mystic Eye of Black Flame does is if I look at something, it will keep taking this wither damage. So that's basically wither damage. This fire will keep consuming or dealing damage to anything and giving it a wither effect. Next spell is the Eye of Death Collection. So what this spell does, if I use this spell and I summon any mob, by killing these mobs using this spell, I will keep collecting a death collection. If when my death collection reaches a certain point, I can die, but instead of dying, this death thing will save me. Next spell is the Mystic Eye of Perversion. What this spell does is that it takes buffs of anything that is in your eyesight when you use that spell. Also, it takes the main passives of a mob. So let's say a husk. A husk can take damage in the sun, but if I use this spell on him and I see him, he will take damage from the sun. Okay. So basically what I took the buff from that husk, but I have to be looking at their eyes for that effect to happen. So it will be like water creatures will die from the water, nether creatures will take damage from fire and lava normally, endermen will take damage from arrows, and you get the idea. So next spell is the Mystic Eye of Feylight, and what this spell does, it's a really important spell. So by using that spell you can see this ley line, and what that ley line means is that this place where this circle, where if you go, the closer you are to it, the more mana region you gain, and you like basically you gain more mana region depending on how big your mana capacity is. Also, a mob that's called a Fey can spawn there, so I'm gonna spawn it here. You can hear the sound of it. It sounds like bells, but you can't see it unless you use that spell. So if you can see these mobs, so now I can't see it anymore unless I use a spell, but I can always hear it. Now that I use a spell, I can see it again, and if I kill that mob, they can drop something important. So what they can drop is called, 1 second, yeah, wait, you can drop something called the Fee Essence. Using that Fee Essence you can make very important things. So now that's one of the powders that I told you about from earlier that we will get into knowing, and that's the essence. So I will get into using this essence later. Next spell is the Eyes of Insight, Mystic Eye of Insight. So if I summon any mob and right clicking that sight on him, I can tell what this mob or has like. So I can tell the buffs, item in their inventory if that's a character, their HP bar, a lot of information, a lot of useful information about them. So the next category is Intelligence, and this one is very cool because the spells are linked with each other. So the first thing is that you summon and you summon a familiar. Now what that does is that it can go out in the wild, and then it will give you data about the wild. So it can give you data about cool chunks or cool mobs or players data or stuff like that, and it can go and you can right click it and it will change it. If you hit it for example once, it will talk to you. It's like it's gonna keep talking stuff in the down. It's so cool. Now it can go. The remaining spells will always work with it. So the next spell will be recall the familiar. So if I use it, the familiar will come back and says yes master, like this. The next spell will be the exchange. So I can, if I right click this spell, I will exchange places with that familiar. So the next spell is shared vision, and this spell has no specification, so I can use it on any mob or a player. And if I right click on that mob or the player, I can share vision with that thing and see what it sees. The last spell is the Familiar Guard, and what it does is when you right click that spell, the familiar will have this effect around it, and players inside this place cannot attack each other. So you have the Peaceful Guardian. So anything that any players inside this place cannot attack each other. Also, even mobs you can't attack mobs. So this place is just a peaceful place. No one can attack people. Just some peaceful, you know. So the next category is exchange, and what it does, first spell is damage obstruction. What it does, when you take damage, it will simply turn that damage into mana. So if I go to game mode survival here and use that spell, that zombie is still dealing damage to me but will start making me mana. So the next spells, I'm not gonna actually draw the spells, I'm gonna talk about them. So the first one is the Chronicle Exchange. What it does, it will take it for 12 hours of the day, and since you put it, it will cut the day into 2 pieces, the 12 hours. So for half of the day, it will generate mana for all things around it. For the other 12 hours, it will take mana for all things around it. So it works the both ways. Okay. Next one is a durability exchange. What it does, it will take items that you drop it on the circles, will take the durability from it and turn it into mana. Also, you can put a chest under the circle, and durability from items in that chest will be converted into mana. Another crystal exchange, what it does, it will take crystals that you throw at the top of that circle and change it into a different powder. So if you have a lot of coarse powder, you can change it into a random one. Maybe you'll get diamond and emerald, since they're a bit harder to make. Okay, last exchange is the alchemy exchange. What it does is that you put this circle, and the same time after it, one day, or the same time at one day after, it will convert the blocks underneath it into a random block of the same value. So if you found a lot of blocks of diamond that you want emeralds, you can just change it. Or if you have a way of taking those blocks of diamond and keeping them as blocks, you can change it. But this spell wouldn't work on things that you crafted, so it will work only on natural blocks. So it won't work on blocks of diamond, or it won't work on blocks of emeralds or bricks, stuff like that. It will work on the natural ones like diamond ore, or diamond or emerald ore. Mystic code. So the way that you craft the mystic code is that you will need spell cloth all around, and then you will need 3 gold powder. You can that will make your mystic code. There's another one called the mystic code first sorcery, and to make that you will need the same spell cloth, but you will need fey essence on the top and the bottom, and the middle powder diamond. And the way it works, they're both completely different than each other. So they have the same idea, but they're different. So if you sneak and right click, you can put spells on it. So I can put like scroll. So I'm gonna put one of each, so you understand what I'm talking about. So that's the first thing. If you right click, you will use the spells. But before we do that, you can press Y and select the spell. So if I select, for example, summon, the summon and then I right click, that will summon it for me. If I press Y again, you'll see that use the spell. So if I just, for example, use exchange, that exchanges the places. So the way it works is that this one is basically, it holds 3 spells and you can use them. So if instead of having spells in your hand, you can hold the mystic code, the first sorcery. I'm gonna do the same thing, put the same 3 spells on it, so 1 of each kind. So you see here, 1 of each kind. Now I'm gonna press Y and select the one I want, and then I'm gonna use it. You see it's a different color, then I use it. If I press Y again, you will see I didn't actually use the spell, but what happened is that the durability of that item got it used a bit. And I'm always using mana, but there it was. So the difference between both of them is one that uses mainly scrolls, the other one uses durability. So the other one is a lot better, so you don't actually have to make the scrolls every time. You can just make the gauntlet, and then using it you will be able to use spells as much as you want. So that's the mystic code, first sorcery and the mystic code. There are some items that you can craft. This one is for decoration, so you have the projector. So you can make it by some gold and spell cloth and some redstone. So the way it works is that if you right click it on the ground, it will put this circle. So you can see it from far, it looks like a circle. And this circle is customizable. So you can change in color, you can change in the angle, the size, you can change in a lot of things, okay? There's also one more thing that's called. What you change to that circle, you can implement it to your item. So if I right click with an item, this, you see my item is now enchanted. If I right click and wear it, it will work like this. So there's this circle. I can change in color, size, and angle, and all of these things. Okay, this is just for decorations. Now for something very important. Every mod that you play, you always want to have like a mana circuit or a mana bank, right? So there is something called a mana circuit, and there is a mega thick mana circuit. So the way that you craft your mana circuit is that you will need fade essence and 1 emerald in the middle. The way it works is that if you right click it on the ground, so now you put, anyone can put it on the ground, but it wouldn't be yours. The way it will be yours, the first one to right click it, it will be his mana circle. Now when you right click it, you can put mana in it. You put 1,000, or depending on how much you have, it can hold up to 100,000, and you simply can right click it to put inside. If you want to turn it on or off, you sneak and right click, that will turn it on. You sneak and right click, that will turn it off. The way it works is that mana circuit will feed mana to everything around it, and also you. So you can just simply turn it on, use magic, and this mana circuit will be the one that you use mana from. Also, you can basically put it and stack them at the top of each other, so it looks, you can just make it into one big stack. So like I can just make it like this. There's another one that called the Megatech mana circle, and you make it with some iron and some ender powder ender emeralds. So the way it works, it's same idea. You put it on the ground, you can just simply right click it and put it at the top of each other if you sneak. Now if you right click it once, it will be yours. It will take the 1000 mana, and or depending on how much mana you have, you can sneak right click to turn it on, sneak right click to turn it on, and that's how you make your mana bank. So you can make it like you can make it into like a cool way, like maybe this. Yeah, by the way, they link with each other, so it looks cool. So like if I just turn that on, you see they look like they're linked with each other. So yeah, depending on which one you want to build and which one you wanna how it looks like, you can build both of them. And that's for the mana circuits. Now the last thing that we're gonna talk about is the Kodoku worm, and this is so good and it's so much fun to play. First of all, let's just talk about how to grab that worm. So you will need dirt, some carrots, potato, poison, and rotten flesh and netherite. So the way that works, this is a worm, okay? So the way that this worm works is that this worm will take the power of a monster that will kill another, depending on how much this monster killed. So if I put a zombie, for example, the villager, and this zombie kills the villager, and now I can put the worm at the top of his head and take his power. And the way it works, like you see, it has a value. So my value now is 0. I've made another one that has value 3. So now if I put, for example, a worm on the top of his head and get a sword. Now this worm is eating his power, or that monster power, to increase the level of the Kodoku worm. So now the worm drops again on the ground. I can just simply take the worm. Now I have the worm. This worm is level 1. So depending on how your worm is leveled, depending on how much power it works. So the first simple thing that you can do with this worm is that when you burn this worm, it's gonna generate mana for all the circles around, and this mana will be stronger depending on how close to the ley line it is. So the closer you are to the circle or the main area of it, the more mana you will get. So just simply put your worm and just put some fire. You basically want to burn that worm. So that's just something you can do. For the most important thing of the use of this worm, you can do something called the sympathetic magic. Basically, it's the magic that you can curse someone without even going close to this person. So to do that, you will need to make a circle. To perform that circle, you will need to make a normal circle called a scarring circle. The way to do that is that you will need 2 ender powder and 1 eye ender. By throwing a name tag of a name of someone that exists in your server, it doesn't matter if it's a player, mob, or anything, just a name of something that exists. By throwing that name tag, you will see that person. Now to do that curse magic, all you need to do is just put Kodoku worms in that in the chest under that circle. So you put the circle on maybe dirt, then break the dirt, put the chest under, put your worms in. So now there's a lot of different curses that you do, and depending on how strong your worm, that curses will happen. Since I don't have really high levels of worm, the spell will be hard to do, but I'll just try to give you a quick idea. So there is a lot of different things. You have blaze powder to fire, rapid foot to hop, splash potion effect, glow dust to glow, and then there's more effects like rotten flesh, that's hunger, and the Kodoku worm. This is the one that's so cool. If you throw a worm, depending on how high that worm level, it will put something called a misfortune. This misfortune will make him be unlucky, getting struck by lightning, dropping items, sniffing negative loot. You get the idea. And the last 2 things is ender pearl will make him teleport, and netherite will make him confused. Now if I try to throw this, depending on the level of the worm, see, I was set on fire. That took 1 worm. I can throw it again on fire and keep doing that. Since I'm creative, it won't work on me, but you get the idea. Now it says here the sympathetic magic has failed, but perhaps the worm is weak. So that's depending on the level of the worm. Now let's say that someone is trying to do that to you, right? So I'm just gonna do the same. I'm gonna do this and collect these worms. Now I don't want someone to do this magic to me. I want to be protected. You can leave high level worms in your hand inside your inventory. By having this level of high level worms, that magic won't get affected. So if I do the same thing again, throw an imp tank, that's me, and throw a place fire, see, nothing is happening to this person. Nothing. It's not. There's not even. It's like you're not trying to do anything to him. That's just because I have the worms. Let me throw the worms in here from the ground. See, now things are happening. He's trying to tell me, oh, there is something, there's a possibility that that could happen. So let me just put more here and just throw this worm so I don't lose it. Now if I try again, it's telling me there is something that might happen. If I have the worm in my hand, just throwing it won't do anything. There's nothing happening. It's not even taking worms, because you can't even try to do that if the caster or the person you're trying to do that to have a high level. So the main thing is try to level up your worm very high, and then try to use any other way of magic to duplicate that worm. So to duplicate it, and that's the way, so that you can affect someone with it. You can also protect yourself by having a high level worm. And that's it for the last thing, which is the sympathetic magic. That's it for Mahou Tsukai. I'm gonna leave a link in the description for the mod, the version, and all the things about the mod and what I use in this video. Also, there's a link in the description for my Discord. If you guys wanna join my Discord, I'm gonna start using Discord more to send things about Minecraft, also talk about things about Minecraft, and generally just to have more fun. So the link in the description. And that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Bye.